There have been a lot of leaks and rumors that Battlefield was going to drop a Battle Royale. Well, that's all but confirmed now. Battlefield has confirmed that their Battle Royale is now going to be in testing as part of Battlefield Labs. This is really quite crazy. As much as I love Battlefield Labs, and I think it's fantastic that we're getting this almost community testing environment before the official release of the game, it is pretty insane to me that we're seeing official announcements for things that haven't even been confirmed to exist occurring in Battlefield Labs. Now, for those of you who haven't been following the leaks and rumor mills for the Battlefield Battle Royale, it's been said that this is supposed to be effectively an evolutionary step for the Battle Royale genre. We're talking about a Battlefield franchise that has historically had high-performance servers, a very good first outing with their new Javelin anti-cheat, and things that uniquely Battlefield is capable of doing that other games tend to struggle with. For example, having pretty much industry-defining audio and destruction systems. And the rumor and leak mill has successively been that Battlefield 6's Battle Royale is essentially going to throw us into a modern-day America, which is pretty crazy considering we haven't really seen anything in any video game really pointing towards that kind of map or biome, and throw us into a series of collapsing circles, missions, completing contracts, and surviving till the last. It was rumored to have vehicles, it was rumored to have destruction elements, and all of that has now been confirmed officially by Battlefield as part of their testing core infrastructure for Battlefield Labs. The official word on the Battle Royale is that it's a Battle Royale the Battlefield way, and this is exactly what they've said. We see a great opportunity to infuse the core Battlefield pillars of class-based squad play, tactical destruction, and vehicle combat into the Battle Royale genre to create a high-stakes and adrenaline-pumping gameplay experience. This is Battlefield's twist on the classic formula, so you can expect to find all of the core principles of Battlefield taking place within this mode. Gadgets, explosives, destructible environments, and vehicles that can all be used to secure the win. Now, the current rumor and leak mill says that the Battlefield Royale is going to feature various types of vehicles, including possibly tanks, which are incredibly hard to access, but will have everything from random little jet skis and boats to things like dirt bikes and cars and helicopters that can be used to maneuver your way around this large-scale map. And there are some very interesting spins in Battlefield's take on a Battle Royale, and some of it's been listed out in detail here, and we will get to some of these. But honestly, I actually think vehicles could be a very exciting introduction. Now, I know some people are worried about the idea of something like a tank potentially winning in a BR game, but historically Battlefield has always tried to balance these things very aggressively, and honestly, the idea of just a helicopter being thrown into a building and collapsing that building, or an explosive from a tank or a vehicle taking out a piece of cover or collapsing a skyrise, is something uniquely only Battlefield can do, and I think the best thing about any Battle Royale, whether it's Warzone, whether it's PUBG, is just when crazy sandbox moments happen, and they keep this expansive array of random things that can occur in a game to keep that gameplay loop interesting, you're onto a successful formula. When a Battle Royale starts to feel samey because the core gameplay loop completely repeats itself over and over and over again, and doesn't really satisfy some of those random tick boxes that I've been talking about, you get a very stale experience that dies very quickly, and it's arguably been the biggest problem for the modern version of Warzone, is that the gameplay experience lost the sandbox environment and became very similar from round to round. Having more random elements like destruction, like vehicles, and all of these things that add to the sandbox environment could greatly improve how a Battle Royale plays. For the map, Battlefield says that they are no stranger to epic maps, and this all-new map has been built for the BR experience. It features a diverse array of tactical points of interest, each with distinct layouts and themes that offer unique gameplay opportunities. Now, in the leak and rumor mill, we have heard rumors that potentially previous Battlefield games will have certain elements of those maps featured in the BR map, a little bit similarly to how Warzone has featured old Call of Duty maps in. But more importantly, obviously, this is a sandbox environment. You know, we'll have everything potentially from, sky rises being able to drop down to just small residential areas and buildings completely being blown apart. So being able to expand on that kind of array of buildings and provide a bit of variety there is, I think, kind of what they're alluding to here. I think they're sort of saying, well, look, all of the points of interest are supposed to be quite different because we want the gameplay to flow quite differently in those locations. For vehicles, Battlefield says that players can find common transport vehicles around the map and even unlock powerful armored vehicles to turn the tide of battle. The intent is to offer more ways for players to traverse the map early on in the match and to create interesting combined arms actions in the process. Now, it's interesting that they say early on in the match, there could potentially be a balancing factor in this where vehicles get disabled past a certain part of the game, or perhaps they have a certain amount of fuel that will only get them so far. It feels like that's a very deliberate point though in terms of balancing. They also say tactical destruction is part of the game and that destruction will be everywhere in this mode. From creating pathways through walls to toppling buildings, we look forward to seeing players' ingenuity with destruction and how they use it to defeat their opponents. Honestly, this is probably the thing I'm most excited for, and I think it's the thing that's been missing from the BR genre. The idea that somebody has a power position in the game, and you can significantly weaken that power position by throwing a certain amount of ordnance in that direction is a very exciting prospect that I feel is going to completely change how BRs are approached. I know there's been some very limited destruction in games like PUBG, but this is an entirely different level of what we're talking about. You know, let's say, for example, you're out in the open, you're hiding in a little sand dune or something, and you see a team that clearly has a power position in the building, well, 1, 2, 3 RPGs potentially through the window, and you've halved the ability for that building to be functional. And I think stuff like that is going to be incredible. I think seeing the way vehicles could potentially interact with these buildings, maybe, you know, you're driving down a road, you get shot at, and the solution is just simply to throw the vehicle into the building and see what damage it can do. All of those random elements, all of these destruction elements are going to greatly increase the variety we see in gameplay. And that's not to mention as well that we're not just talking about entire buildings being destroyed, we're also kind of talking about the micro destruction as well. Battlefield 6 has the ability to have an actual hammer, sledgehammer, that you can knock out holes in a wall. You can also place a C4 on the floor of a ceiling or like on the rooftop of something and blow a hole in that. So we're talking about micro destruction within these buildings to potentially create choke points, kill holes, things like that. And at the same time, we're also talking about that entire building having the ability to be completely nuked. Next up is squad play, and they say for this test, each match will feature 100 players organized into 25 4-player squads, fighting to be the last one standing. Communicating with your squad through pings, text, or VoIP aims to boost the experience and enhance tactical options. They also say that there will be a second chance mechanic between the support class being able to revive people and the mobile redeploy options. There are multiple tools to keep your squad in the fight. Now, I think it's safe to say, considering this game is heavily going to be oriented around things like Apex Legends, considering people like Vince Ampella are involved. It's safe to say there's going to be some kind of redeploy mechanic akin to buy stations in Warzone or the redeploy beacons in something like Apex. They're probably going to have something in between the two of those, if that was to be my guess. Now, this is the thing I'm most excited about, and this is the thing that I think is the spin that we were referring to before. The deadliest ring in any Battle Royale. They say that we have set out to create the most dangerous ring in gaming to Battle Royale that instantly kills players upon contact, with urgent warnings as the fire approaches. Soldiers will be pushed into more intense firefights as the game space continues to shrink. There's no jumping in and out of it, no using it for cover, no walking in it. If you get caught in it, you are done. We're excited to see how the ring affects the pace of this game and how it creates spontaneous showdowns. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be a little bit confused by this one, and I think some people are going to immediately jump the gun and say this sounds like a bad idea, but I actually think this is a phenomenal idea. The idea that the ring in the BR instantly kills you, and if they make that ring move aggressively, you're going to be talking about a BR that has an intensity to it that makes 100 players feel even bigger than it is. Now, for all of its flaws and for all of its setbacks, Call of Duty Warzone does do a surprisingly good job at maintaining a healthy mid-game. And it does that because it has fairly decent circle shrinking times and moves the circle pretty aggressively. Now, Battlefield has 100 players, it doesn't have 150, although it definitely will have better servers than Warzone, which is not really all that difficult. But with that 100 players, you can make that experience have a really solid mid-game by having something like an insta-kill circle, especially if that circle is heavily mobile. I very genuinely believe that this could be the defining feature for this Battle Royale, and I actually think once people play and experience it, it will be one of the most popular features in this Battle Royale. The idea that you just have this underlying level of intensity where you can't slow down because the ring is moving, and if you hit the ring, you die, I think is really going to massively up the ante for this franchise, and I think this could be really, really, really good, and I'm really excited to see how it plays. Next up, the class system does feature in this Battle Royale. It says each squad gets to plan and choose which of the classes they'll bring into battle, with a balanced squad of all 4 classes to a 4th squad that's all 1 class. So you can kind of choose your composition of classes as you want. Your team will use the unique strengths and weaknesses of their class to adapt and overcome the unique tactical scenarios they encounter in the BR experience. Once a match begins, players are not able to change their class for the rest of that match. Players start the match with 2 default gadgets from their chosen class during each match. Players level up using XP in a variety of methods, such as defeating an opposing player or completing missions, and be on the lookout allegedly for intel cases, and finding these is crucial as they provide XP to the entire squad. As players level up their class training, they will gain access to new traits that enhance their chosen class and give them both them and their squad a tactical edge in the match. One example would be the assault class being faster, equipping armor plates, which makes them harder to defeat in their next or current firefight. In labs, we'll be watching how players use their classes to build effective squads and how their unique traits contribute throughout each game. For example, how important is something like support's ability to supply ammo, or how effective are engineers' abilities to deal with vehicles. This is probably my biggest question mark around this, the class system being involved in this BR. Now, I get what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to sort of make each role feel a little bit more refined in a similar way to how specific agents or operators in Apex Legends feel very refined, and it's a nice idea. Whether or not it works, I think, is a very different question. I very much envisioned that in this Battle Royale, you would be able to find gadgets and equipment that would allow you to sort of create a class or make a class feel a little bit more like it had an impact in the game. Maybe you find some medic equipment, or maybe you find some support equipment and you decide to equip that and use it. I didn't expect them to go the full, oh yeah, you can actually pick a class and it will have predefined systems. That creates some balancing questions. For example, if there are 4 recons in one squad, what could they potentially do in terms of intel gathering that would make them super overpowered? What would those shortcomings be? Would it be more effective to have a balanced composition or an overwhelmingly one-sided composition? There are a lot of things that could go wrong with this, and I'm interested to see how it plays. Like I say, I don't want to pass judgment on it until we get our hands on it, but this is definitely one of the bigger question marks for me. Finally, Battlefield alludes to an arms race where through each match, essentially, you explore the map, complete missions, and battle for loot to get your arsenal. They say that there are 5 tiers of weapons to loot, along with attachments, throwables, gadgets, and strike packages like airstrikes, armor upgrade kits, as well as custom drops of your favorite weapons. So essentially, they've confirmed here that there will be a looting system where you can also loot attachments and gadgets like grenades and gadgets like RPGs, and you'll also be able to find things like kill streaks, essentially airstrikes, potentially cluster strikes, whatever it so happens to be that they decide to add. And that your armor kits will be upgradable. Now, we don't know whether this means the amount of plates that you'll be able to put in, or the amount of plates that you'll just simply be able to carry with you. But essentially, loadout drops are confirmed, as custom drops of favorited weapons can be found and dropped into the game. There are also various missions that will have lots of different targets. So, for example, finding high-value caches, planting explosives, and even potentially taking out other opponents. And these will give you rewards like weapon caches, vehicle keys, which seemingly are a way of accessing more powerful vehicles like tanks, and mobile redeploy units to allow you to redeploy your squad if they get wiped. And much like other games that use these systems, they'll probably come with an inherent amount of risk that will likely run you into other squads, or perhaps even alert squads that you are completing those missions or collecting the items from those missions to create fights and tense situations. So all in all, a very promising first foot forward. I think it's safe to say that a lot of the mechanics that you're witnessing here do exist in Warzone: custom loadout drops, completing missions, but there are some very unique things that they're trying to achieve here. For example, destruction being a huge part of this game, vehicles being part of this game, the fact that the class system is going to have an influence on how matches are played. I think there's a lot of potential here, but the execution is really, really key. Now, this is available soon in Battlefield Labs for everybody to test. Unfortunately, once you're in that, you will not be able to talk about it publicly or reveal any gameplay. But I'm excited about this. At a very basic fundamental level, Battlefield is going to have probably minimum 30 to 45 hertz servers. If I was to guess, the answer is probably 45 hertz. They already have a better anti-cheat than the vast majority of other BRs in the market, and they already have a better audio system than most first-person shooters. So the 3 biggest problems in competing BRs are the 3 possibly largest strengths of what this Battlefield game will have. everything else, like the sandbox environment, destruction, and the things that they're throwing in, could be really good bonuses if executed well. So folks, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts and feelings on this. Let me know what you think about the Battlefield Battle Royale that's just been confirmed, and as always, make sure you subscribe. We're on the road to 200k, and I'll catch you in the next one.